slowly, and in the distance I hear voices. Are they real or are they in my head? I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick, and I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick, and now I feel alive, feel alive, feel alive, feel alive, and now I feel alive. So many times they try to change me, and every time it drives me crazy. And all the good times we had saved me. Are they real or are they in my head? I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick, and I'm lovesick. You got me lovesick, and now I feel alive, feel alive, feel alive, feel alive, and now I feel alive.
Today, some of the top drivers on iRacing when it comes to the IndyCar Open Series make their way to Hampton, Georgia. For today, we're at the legacy version of EchoPark Speedway, also known as Atlanta Motor Speedway. The European SOF, just about all set to go for a second week here today on Velocity Online Racing. Happy to have you with us for today's coverage. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the move forward this week's coverage is Ewan. Our producer this evening is Julien Altena. We're using cameras provided by TrackCams22.com and onboard cameras provided by Julien Altena. Tonight's going to be an interesting one as it's our first oval of the schedule, Ewan. Tonight, we are all set to fly around on our helicopters and watch these drivers go high speed around bumpy Atlanta.
Exactly, bumpy Atlanta, not the modern day version that has the steeper banking and the plate racing in NASCAR circles. This is the older version of that. Very interesting to see how the bumps affect these Indy cars. Very interested to see how the other track changes affect these Indy cars over the course of this race. 125 laps ready for tonight. It's going to be a potentially long and grueling race, and certainly one where you're going to have to stay out of trouble in the early going.
It's going to be an interesting one tonight as the drivers already get themselves prepared for this evening. We had 36 registrations for this evening's action, 18 per split for those curious for today's racing. And as these drivers prepare for tonight, it's going to be intriguing which drivers are able to separate themselves out on the championship side of things also. Keep in mind, we're talking speeds tonight of 24 seconds in qualifying alone. Obviously, in the race conditions, it's going to be a lot more different when these cars go flying.
Well, yes, but even so, in qualifying, that is scarily quick speed, and that's what we're going to see throughout this schedule in terms of ovals. We've got some really, really quick ones to come. Auto Club in 2 weeks' time is a little bit bigger, but it's still very, very quick. Nashville the week after that, equally quick as well. Pocono, which is sort of more of an expected place where you'd see IndyCars on an oval at the Triangle, and some other difficult ones in amongst it. Milwaukee is the penultimate round, so this is just one of many, really, and I'm glad to see, to be honest, an IndyCar schedule that mixes road and oval a little bit better than, to be honest, I think the real world one does at the moment. I'd like to see a bit more oval racing in the real world for the IndyCar series, but we have that here instead, and I'm very pleased about that.
Drivers are working quickly to make their way to the starting grid. Let's take a look at that here tonight. Alexander Russell starts on the pole. He is with Power Slide in this series. John Stellard in the voting machine will start in second. Indy Kirchenbauer will start next to him in third spot, rather, in the order. Then Alexis Newsom will start inside the top four for I5G. Micah Mixer will start in the top five with Alan Berteau, who had some good speed last week in the top six. Christopher Dermott, one of the drivers you should keep an eye on, has been good here in the past in races. Christian Hildgaard in eighth. Rudin Epting starts off in ninth, and Jacob Reed would look to try and improve for the road course from 10th.
11th for Caleb Brashear with Seb Alexander alongside. Milan Vozelgang will be on row 7 alongside Ty Keeler. Final rows of the grid have Matt Holloway and Pim Gasto with the rear of the field, Kyle Clenderworth and Gregory Thompson.
Top to bottom, but you're here today as the field already through to 3 and 4 to start things off. Happy with us for today's coverage of the IndyCar Open Series Euro SOF race, brought to you by velocityonlineracing for the iRacing IndyCar community. Green flag is out. We're underway from Hampton, Georgia. Good start for Russell. He leads the opening lap of the race. John Stellar trying to run the outside. Stellar trying to run the inside in his 100-pace Team 8 sim. But Alexis Newsom had some good experience in Lionheart Racing action a few years ago. Trying to find a way to work. You see how much these drivers have to fight in this dirty air with the Aero push.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're back in the pack like this, and also you're boxed in. We're on board with Newsom in the 9 at the moment, and now finally there's a gap down the inside of Stellard, who he can dispatch of there for third, maybe. But now he's in the dirty air, and Stellard gets a good run. And meantime, side by side for the lead.
Run to the outside. That's the 8 machine. Jim Bauer trying to use the outside to their advantage. Seem to have the power coming out the corners. Just can't get the rotation quite yet to pass in the heart of the corner. Russell, shorter distance around, in through to the corners right now, the white line. See that second place battle now forced to check up, and now it's clear. All of this is to say, as these drivers get to work with tonight's action, it's going to be important they think about trying to set themselves up for the potential in the point standings. As the run goes on, we'll touch upon in the moment. Right now, one of the voting machines, Kirchenbauer, trying to find a way to get the edge here through the corners. Couldn't get the clearance down the front straightaway this time.
Has already tried that outside line here on Russell. Is going to try again. Gets the slipstream, gets a run to the outside, but he's just getting nowhere on that outside right now. So Kirchenbauer going backwards. In fact, it's Newsom who's getting the speed this time around, but every time Newsom goes to the bottom, he's got Russell in that dirty air, so finds it very, very difficult. They're kind of being held by Russell here, using the dirty air very, very well at the moment to keep everybody behind him.
Exactly, doing a solid job on defense, not allowing the runs to the outside, not allowing anyone to build up on the inside. Those driver stands we talked about is after the opening round across the entire series to start off in our outlook. Matt Taylor's the top of the order, coming off a road course race last week. Derek Curry, Seb Alexander, Alexander Miller, and Logan Edwards. About a 79-point gap up at the top of the order. Now this next order is an interesting one. This is the look at the Euro SOF standings. This is using the 4-point system, which is the 2004 to 2007 Champ Car point system. Christian Hildegard has that advantage with 32. Then Kevin Burrell had some good speed in second. Adam Williams, Alan Berteau, and Nadi Mel amongst those in the top 5 coming into today. A lot of those drivers not a part of this race on the oval this week. Your cutoff to make this race today was a 3,318 compared to around the 2,000s and 1,000s in road iRating last week.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different, of course, iRating system that qualifies you. And, you know, there'll be some guys in here who only do the ovals. There'll be some guys in last week's race who only really do the road courses. The guys who are going to get towards the top, though, as always is the case, are going to be those who do both and do well at both, or at least get solid results. Especially feel that here in the ovals here tonight, because if you can stay out of trouble, I think you're going to be able to get a very solid result indeed. But let's see. So far, it's been clean and green through 10 laps, it looks like here, with at the front of the field, Alexander Russell leading every single one of these 10 laps.
And as you can see, it's overcast skies here for this race. They've been staying the temperatures around 77 Fahrenheit. That enters the air temp is currently 25 Celsius, track temp 94 Fahrenheit. So for now, the track temperatures relatively hottish, but not as hot as they normally can run for major events here at EchoPark. Usually in the past, we've seen runs as high as 120. Here's Mixer. He's one of the drivers looking to mix it up on the inside. And right now trying to find a way to get something going there. He's one of the few that is staying to the bottom through the corners.
Yeah, and it's just struggling with that aero push down there. You can see and actually, there you go. Breto right round the outside and roars past on that outside. So just very difficult. And as I said earlier, the aero push is going to be so important in this race. When you're back here and you're sort of back in the pack, I mean, the top 17 in this race are all together pretty much. When you're back in the pack and when there's always somebody in front of you on the same line, it's just almost impossible for you to actually get anywhere on a different line to the driver in front of you. So, yeah, everybody finding it very difficult at the moment.
Still nothing going for the race lead for any swap arounds with the way things work with the package. Ballard again continuing to stay equal down the straightaway, not able to clear by in Alexander Russell. Continues to work defensively. Russell has been a name that's also popped up on the eNASCAR side as well on the platform. Worked with teams like Elliott Sauer eSports in the past. The number 4 in Sim here today, using that power plant to his advantage. All while, you can tell for Caleb Brashear, he's trying to play a little bit of free bird, I guess you could say at the very least. Trying to find a way to move up from 4th, or not lose it at least.
Yeah, Stellard on the outside here, recently demoted from that 4th position, trying to win it back again, and does on the backstretch there. It's been a remarkable run from Alexander Russell so far, just to hold on to the lead. It seems almost impossible to overtake right now, even while so many positions are changing behind, changing and changing again. That one for the lead just is not changing, no matter how much and how hard Kirkenbauer is trying.
They're continuing to just try and hold on as much as they can defensively here amongst this fight up at the front of the field. Still good battling for now. For those who are enjoying the battle, remember, please consider supporting our fundraiser and donate to the on GoFundMe if you'd like to join this action. Also, if you're enjoying Velocity Online Racing's coverage, press the like and subscribe buttons to help us in the YouTube algorithm. Now, the interesting thing is, Brashear is the only driver that's picked up more than 1 or 2 spots this entire run so far. That's how difficult it's been to log yourself up a pack. The packs are also starting to splinter because Alan Berteau is nearly losing the ground. There's the driver at the tail end of the group. Up from 11th to 5th. No one else has been able to do what they've done because everyone else behind has stayed relatively the same. It's more people losing spots than gaining them in the second grouping of cards.
Yeah, and we always see this whenever it's sort of group racing on an oval. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter what cars are used. As the laps wear on, the front group diminishes in size, and eventually those who've got the fastest race cars do come out to the top. Now, other things can make sure that you don't make the front group. And as you say, the only driver really to successfully move up from outside the top 10 here into this front group is Caleb Brashear at the moment. But it is pretty much all about who is quickest at the moment, and that's who's been tailed off the back. You can see it there, so much more stretched out than what we saw earlier. And that, by the way, is despite the side-by-side between Russell and Kirkenbauer here that we're seeing here for the race lead. You'd think side-by-side would slow them down, but not these two at the moment.
Not whatsoever with the way this whole package works. Again, Russell holds serve down the front straight away. And clean air so critical, it's seeming like here today. All that's to say, Berteau still battling amongst those. You also have back here, this is Kildegard, his teammate for Nexus. Seb Alexander having to get in line. Alexander nothing doing, and some of the drivers like here, like Klendy, who's one of the drivers from VOR competition that's usually very fast. One of the top contenders last season, looking to fight now for 7th with the Nexus machine.
Yeah, you can see it side by side here for 7th position as well as for 5th. Stillard and Demerit about to take each other out of the back of the front 4 now it will become as well. And there we go on board with Demerit. Look at that gap just starting to appear up in front here to that front 4. Remarkable that after so many laps here of running in the draft of one another, running nose to tail all the way down the group, these guys, they're beginning to really split apart now at the front. And we're seeing a very defined front 4 and smaller groups all the way down now.
The interesting is, again, the further back you go, the higher up the racetrack they go. Here's the thing, though. There's a lot of bumps in 3 and 4. Some of the drivers are just sending their cars in and not afraid to ride in. Look at this from Vogelsang. See a lot of them there. The problem is right there, getting tight, is Common coming off at 2. That just lost Vogelsang the draft to that group involving Alexander and Koa in front of him.
Yeah, exactly. Look at this, looking back here from just inside the top 10 briefly. Hildegard still alongside, and Keeler now is going to get fully clear, I think. And there you can see the group behind. A few more catching on, and the gap up ahead on the tower on the left-hand side. It is just about a second at the moment, separating these guys from gaining another position. Here we go.
Yeah, take a look at this race lead. Just seen Russell change lines. Had to go up to the top. And Newsom, she's now up to the 2nd position. Looking to join the fray. Hasn't been using up the tires too much. Now Newsom for I5G. Looking to try and get the run this time as a new attacker.
Yeah, there's a new matchup which might just allow a lead change here with officially 100 laps to go here tonight from Atlanta. And it is not to be this time round for Newsom. On the outside line, not getting anywhere just for the moment. Russell continuing to hold that lead very nicely.
Still trying to find a way around Newsom. It's been very competitive in multiple different leagues over the years. Lexus looking to get the edge. Just about dead equal at the start and finish line. Still Russell in hand for now.
Only just.
But for how long is the question? The question will be, will this get to the point where Newsom starts to use up her tires and doesn't get the run that she's looking for here compared to what we've seen with the 8 machine?
Well, Kirkenbauer there, you can see up there in the 8, just going even higher. So trying something different again, looking to find some clean air. But look how unrubbered it is up there. The darker tarmac is down low and it's not next to the wall at the moment, which is making this very, very tricky indeed for Kirkenbauer. It's always a problem when there's 2 in front of you side by side like this. Mentioned it when it was a big group earlier. When there's 2 of them side by side in front of you like this, it's so difficult to find any clear air and therefore get really involved in the fight.
Right there up at the top of the racetrack. Look at that cut attempt to try and counter some of the push coming out of 2 though. Bauer again, equalizing out, staying up and high on the gear. Around 5th gear you still see for these drivers in this fight. Mind you, the high line carries at least 3-4 miles an hour more than the inside line, but the boost comes about equal by the time you get towards the end of the straightaway. That's why part the 4 has been so good defensively in this fight. Remember,
look at this run for the 8 maybe. It just depends whether you want to take it 3 wide, and if you don't, then you're not going to get anywhere from 3rd position here. Look at this, every single lap led today by Alexander Russell in front of Newsom and previously Kirkenbauer as well. A great job of defence here. Just immovable at the moment in the lead.
This time gets clear, and it gets to the interesting part is, hold on 1 second, Russell scraped the wall. Russell seemed to be getting in a position to stay single file for a second, then hit the right rear up into the wall down the middle of the back straightaway. It's almost looking like the pressure starting to build pretty heavily here, with the factor of eventually pit stops they have to think of too here at Ewan. Russell now gets the chance to stay single file for the back straightaway.
Well, that's an unusual error, to say the least. So we have a look at the pit strategy, by the way. We're going to see pit stops coming up in still about 15 laps time or so. We'll wait and see just when these first stops are going to be made, but should be fairly soon. Yeah, what a strange mistake for Russell to make, and what a needless one as well, inviting potentially a lot of pressure now from behind.
And mind you, when they do have to take the pit stop service, it's going to be pretty abrupt on that transition from the track down to the apron for the access road / the pit lane itself. Mind you, it's going to be pretty tough for some of the drivers on the call-outs. Here's some of the drivers at the back of the grouping for those curious. Matt Hollybaugh, he was one of the drivers that was very successful at Indy last year. He's amongst those fighting it out for 15th with Jacob Reed.
Yeah. Side by side again down the track towards 3 and 4. There's so many groups like this further down the field. As we spoke about earlier, the phenomenon of the field just in its entirety getting a lot more spread out here. It's created lots of those groups in behind, but Russell seems to be in a bit more trouble here at the front of the race than previous. Here comes Kirkenbauer as well on Newsom. It is beginning to build on Russell here in the lead.
Newsom again hit the wall hearing, so Newsom had a bit of a scrape up again. That's going to cost Newsom a second there for sure. Right on behind is staying in this group also. Oh, by the way, let's see what happened first of all, because Newsom having a bit of a moment.
Yeah, it seemed to be a small scrape, but at these kind of speeds, that's all you really need. Look at this, just a little bit washing up a little bit through 3 and 4, and there it is. A small graze, but as I say, you'd rather avoid that really.
Any harder, you cause chassis damage. The error point to make? Well, there's 2 of them. 1, Gregory Thompson lap traffic up the road. 2, as you see your conditions staying about equal, but the wind still being pretty high up. It's worth noting that Klendy is up in 5th and is up 12 and is rocketing to this pack.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great drive so far from Clemworth. Oh, he's now scraping the wall out of turn number 2 there. That's not ideal, but we spoke earlier about the impressiveness of Caleb Brashear doing this. Well, this is impressive to an even bigger degree for Clemworth here.
Second on back, losing ground to the leader because Russell's pulled away after picking up the toe off the lapper. Newsom holds on to second. Shearer getting a little communicated previously down the straightaway, just took away 3rd spot as Kirkenbauer elects to stay low. And the 11 jumps up to P3 with the shuffle, but the leader has already pulled away by almost a second with a lapper in between them. And bye-bye camera.
We've fallen off the face of the earth. Oh no! Hope you're not travel sick. That's not going to be. We'll just sort that for a moment before we go back, before we make anybody throw up. But yeah, we're about a third of the way through the race now, by the way. So look, as we saw on that strategy thing there, looking at 2 stops here tonight. Well, if you want to split it into exact thirds, then you want to be pitting very, very soon in this race. So yeah, watch out for that coming up in the next couple of moments.
Ken Corey working on a quick situation for these drivers right now, as right now we are, for those 2 coming at 83 laps to go. Russell's led every lap so far here today over Newsom, Brashear, Kirkenbauer, Clundy, and Demerit. The longtime sim racing veteran John Stellard is in 7th. Mixer is in 8th. Quill down in 9th. And Seb Alexander is your current top 10. Pit window is opening with John Stellard about to pit down this time through. We'll go call this on radio moments because this is the opening of the window. It's a bit earlier at 43. Stellard takes a slow roll coming out of 4. Enters into the yellow cones. Locks up the left side tires. Nearly loops it down to the inside. Gets it down to speed limit, which today here at this racetrack is 50 miles per hour. So as service begins, prior to that, Velocity Online Racing delivers professional iRacing broadcasts, providing an authentic race day experience. Our custom IndyCar style overlay creates a clean and immersive viewing experience, reminiscent of professional motorsports broadcasts. Streamed in 1440 60 FPS production, and with expert commentary, VOR gives your series the presentation it deserves. Broadcast packages start for as low as €50 per hour. Contact velocityonlineracing@gmail.com to learn more. Pictures are back. One driver has come on in. It's the 6 that is peeled on down. Everybody else stayed on track as Russell has a chunky gap of almost a full second now as we take a look at where Stellard ended up. 18th, one of 2 cars a lap down. That's because in Park, Gregory Thompson's about to go 2 down, who just pit.
Yeah, exactly. This is the stage of the race now, and one of 2 stages of the race, potentially, well, definitely, where we're going to see some real big strangeness, if you like, on the timing. Russell now has come in pit lane as well, and I did see a lot of smoke, by the way. Wonder if he had a big lockup on the way in there, not entirely sure, but he's into pit lane and seems to have made the speed. So here we go, towards the end of pit lane, and first stop of the day for the long-time race leader.
Up on the jacks here, so he's burning a fair amount of fuel, you have to think, as the race leader here. Wonder again, forward on the mapping here so far. Remember, you do have the ability to change that, the weight jacker and whatnot here when it comes to the ovals. Some of the tools you have to utilize here today. And for Russell, he'll blend his way onto the racetrack 16th, well ahead of 17th. Kirchenbauer just entered pit road on the other side of the lane. Kirchenbauer is in the 8th.
Indeed, there you go. So responding now to those earlier stops, and it's quite an early stop for a race leader to make, but I suppose covering off all the others, especially when we're splitting this race into thirds. He's certainly pitted a lot closer to the 1/3 mark than a lot of the others in this race. There goes down the inside a lapped move, so there's going to be a lot of these now. People unlapping themselves and so on. I'm sure that will be happening quite a lot. As I say, this is the part of the race where the timing gets all muddled up, and it's pretty unclear quite who is where always at this stage in the race.
And mind you, there has been a little bit of fall, at least during this run, about 7/10 or so. So some of the drivers as they pit are going to get the chance to get an undercut, if you will, gain a little bit of ground while trying to power ahead those trying to go on the long run. But those drivers on newer tires are going to be rockets by a decent bit. Christopher Dallara just indicated this time by coming down pit road. Some of the other leaders not yet to come down as you take a look. Some of the others. Demerit nearly got hit on entry and locked up pretty heavily. No black flag, no issues with that new speed limit on the service.
Yes, indeed. That's another Week 13 update that has only come into play a couple of weeks ago now. But getting down to pit lane speed in time and into the box as well. Got to hit your marks before getting up on the jacks and taking all 4 tyres and getting back out there again as well. Not far from half distance in this race now, but still expecting the last of these drivers to have been into pit lane before we reach that mark.
Same here with the oh no, crash on the straightaway. It's Vogelzane that just slammed the wall down, but no caution. The 18 has decimated their machine on the access road coming across the track and nearly destroyed Roden Hefting.
See it again. Oh, look at this. It's a precarious exit. The bumps. Big hit on the wall for Vogelzang, but didn't spin out or anything. And so no caution. And we're going to stay green. But there's a lesson for everybody. That bump on the way out of pit lane there.
That could have absolutely flipped this race upside down because the way things are sorted, of course, with the style of racing when it comes to laps and whatnot. But as some of the others complete service, Glendy, one of the finals, in fact, the final to take pit stop service here. Already getting passed by a lot of the others. Remember, was your hard charger of the race. So already going to have to be working from 7th or so. Big pickup. A couple drivers you see here, including John Stewart. He's already jumped up to 3rd with the undercut.
Yeah, absolutely. It's proved to be pretty beneficial for some of these guys to have gone in early. But speaking of third place, it's created this big group for second place. Brashear down the inside and through into second there in front of Kirkenbauer, then Demerit, then Stellard, and then there's a lap driver involved in here as well. So fight for second is now by far the closest in the field, and Russell out front is a long way out front. See whether it gets reeled in though with the older tyres that he'll have now for the stint.
Yeah, that's the key. He ended up taking the 6-lap undercut compared to a majority of the cars in this fight. So Russell is running 25 flats, slowly being reeled in by about 3/4 a lap to start off this stint.
See, on board with Brashear, whether he can maybe take up the same mantle as what we saw from Russell at the front of a group like this beforehand. Don't forget, Russell was just able to hold his line and hold the inside, and no one was able to pass the whole way. But not defending the inside here, Brashear. Forced to the outside by Kirkenbauer, who is going to get through, it looks like, for second.
He already indicated he wants to swap draft, and that's going to be a beneficial thing for the both of them. Maintain momentum by making sure you don't fight each other, slow each other up. Whoever gets the run takes it to the inside, makes the pass, then the next driver does, and so forth. So they are going to try and execute that as a way to close. They were about equal last time. There's the swap again in 3 and 4.
Yeah, I mean, they are edging closer to the leader here, and I suppose they're keeping Demerit out of it right now, but you do wonder how sustainable this is and how beneficial this is to actually run like this. The lap times over the course of the next 30 laps or so are going to bear all that out. They're going to answer all those questions without us needing to right now, but it's a bit counterintuitive and certainly different to what we were seeing earlier, where it was all a big fight and it was all single, or otherwise it was all single file.
Absolutely, with the way things are shuffling, as they'll continue to swap around for the next little bit. Keep in mind, they have a 3-second cushion to the next pack of Mixer and Glendy, then a 7-second gap between that pack and Alexander, Quill, and Berteau, who has been sliding back in the Nexus machine with Hilgard, is the leader of the next pack with Hollyball and Efting. So big gaps amongst the various groupings here have formed up, and it's become essentially the top teams on the racetrack outside of Power Slide on circuit. You're either with I5G or with Votive if you're in this grouping here. It's now at this point a quasi-partnership, I guess you could say, to find a way to have that competition, to have a chance to compete for the race lead pretty soon for your respective organizations. Every other group outside of those 3 referenced has been scattered amongst the other packs here. Interesting dynamics that we've seen form up for who's got the power plant team-wise and who doesn't.
They're still exchanging here, these two, methodically, and maybe it is working. It is reeling in Russell slightly, but feels like to me like they would have done anyway. They are getting rid of Stellard slightly as well at the back end, although still clinging on at the back there. Is just becoming a little bit more distance. And by the way, at the halfway stage of this lap, which these guys just about cross right now, we are officially halfway here at Atlanta. No caution so far, clean and green, with the exception of Vogelsang, who hit the wall very hard coming out the pit lane out of turn number 2. Apart from that, clean and green race, and that's what we all come to see.
By the way, Alexis Newsom, you may have noticed, is a lap down. Can't confirm. Part of the reason is you have to make sure you're inside the yellow cone on pit entry. Newsom clipped it, and that's why Alexis Newsom is a lap down. The cone essentially in her sim would have been sent into the grass. She had been over the edge of the cone by 1/4 of a car length and ran it over. So a 50-second stop is why Newsom is now scored 16th. Last car 1 lap down.
That just shows you how crucial these green flag pit stops are. And again, spoke about it a little bit earlier on, but Mike and Mexico going backwards pretty quickly here. Yeah, just spoke about it earlier on that they're just expanding places, aren't they? The longer these green flag runs go on, doesn't matter how much of a draft oval it is or a draft road course, even if you see one of those. The longer the race goes on, the more guys get spat out the back, the more drivers are generally falling by the wayside. In this race, obviously, we saw a front sort of four emerge in that first stint of the race, but even that is going to be reduced further by pit stops. We've seen it here. Russell now leading by some margin at the front of this field, and yeah, it's all down to the this green flag run and the length of this green flag run at the moment, just stretching the field apart, and those who are at the strongest cars and drivers will rise to the top, and that's what we've seen in the first 67 laps of this race so far.
Absolutely here as you continue to see swap draft effects here. We have Kirchenbauer again willing to work together with Brashear. That's been the major thing that's now seen the close up about a second or so at least since pit stops. Christopher Demerit just riding on behind, hasn't pushed the issue at all to close on up. Demerit, mind you, is on a little bit older tires by a lap or so compared to the 11. See the differences on lap times, or lap pit stops, should say. Russell, that's still impressive to say the least, to show that speed, running the 25-second bracket right now with the front. But here's the thing. At the pace Russell and company are going, they're going to eventually deal with heavy lap traffic. They've dealt with one lapper all race, Ewan. Well, eventually, you have to keep in mind, 25-1s is quicker by 4 or 5 tenths a lap than a majority of the field right now. And if you add up that time, at the very least, by the time we get to, if not just before, the next sequence stops, that might change. Hold on, Alexis Newsom just spun in turn one onto the racetrack. No caution, we stay green.
Oh, that is remarkable. We're still staying green after 70 laps here tonight. Still no caution thrown. And, whoa, this is going wrong from a long way out through the quad oval, sliding, spinning onto the racetrack, but not by enough when above that apron there, above that white line. So a good save from Newson to prevent the field from seeing its first caution of the day.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how that worked in terms of Newsom. Was that weight jack or just snapped around right there? Just got loose. Then after correction, it weight shifted, it looks like, into the grass.
I mean, just a snap away, really, because of the slide through four. The line through the quad oval, which you don't really think about, was all wrong. And suddenly, the car gets away from you when you're suddenly on the flat down there, or the near flat on the quad oval, and it suddenly gets a lot more difficult. So, yeah, that is a breath of sigh of relief, if you like, from Alexander Russell, who has led pretty much every single lap this race, apart from the ones who were under caution, under the pit stop phase, rather. 5-second lead will be wiped away completely if there were to be a caution at the moment, so we'll be hoping to stay away from that.
Definitely so. As they continue to swap, we are just about inside the window, technically speaking, of this 125 lapper. About 50 to go next time by the stripe. And we talked about the strategies and the stints you could take in terms of the fuel versus the tires. There's a little bit tighter flexibility per se. But with that being said here, with how powerful that undercut went in this race, what do you do on strategy here? Because they are not catching up to Russell here at the rate they need to. They need to be gaining a few tenths a lap on average. They're only gaining a tenth or two at that, and if anything, losing some time.
I mean, 6.5, 7 seconds when they came out, and it got down to 5.0, but it's actually going the wrong way again now for Kirchenbauer and Brashear. And like you say, it isn't by any stretch of the imagination, it is by no means enough what they're catching at the moment, even at the rate they were before this recent loss of time, which is starting to really take hold in this group. So it's hard to know what you do about this at the moment, because you want to get an undercut on Russell, absolutely, but he's got so much time to respond to it. This is the reason why such a big gap is so important at this stage in the race. If there's not going to be a caution, and the longer it goes on, the less likely there is going to be one at all throughout this race. The longer this goes on, well, not necessarily the bigger the lead gets, but the lead stays at least like this, and Russell just has so much time to respond. Even if you say like a second and a half is gained per lap on the undercut, you still need Russell to be asleep for 4 laps before you can take the lead off him, or at least get close enough. You'd need 3 laps or so. Russell would just respond first time round and come straight in, and the gap will still be a little bit smaller, but not small enough. So this is a very comfortable position for Russell to be in, as we see the group really falling apart back here. Bashir into the wall there through 3 and 4.
Scrape at the right front. Looks okay though. Yeah, you can see just push tight. That's been a common thread on the long run at this point of the tire's life. For about 35-ish laps for some of the drivers after all. They're still swap drafting, attempting to do something, but they've now gotten to where they've lost net time. Part of that is because Russell is also getting dropped himself right now. Remember, we talked about the lap traffic. He's already lapped F-Tink and Reed up at the head of the field. He's picking up draft off a Hollyball. The battle for second. Yeah, you can do a fair bit with this, but there's only so much you can do when the race leader is able to get so much power in comparison down the straightaway to what these cars are doing here on screen.
Yeah, this is starting to become very unorganised as well back here. Really unorganised. Demerit will be wondering what to do really as well in that group as they continue to exchange places, but by far in a less beneficial way than what they were earlier. Certainly, there it is again. Brashear just in front of Kirkenbauer and now gets back through again. That was a little bit better on the way towards turn 1 and 2 that time around. I believe we were just seeing Hildgaard and Keeler, by the way, in the last couple of moments, who were fighting for 10th place. I believe that's who the shots have worked there. But that's 2 pretty good drivers, pretty strong drivers who are not far off being lapped by Russell here.
Exactly. We were talking about in terms of some of the shuffles. Here is Russell specifically. And she passed by Hollyball. Let go down the back straight away. Playing a little bit on the chip right now. Actually going right up to the top of the gears. He rolls his way through. Missing a little bit on the bottom for now, but hasn't really been impacted on pace all too much. Hildgaard, who again came into today as your top driver in the Euro SOF point standings, has not had the best of run today. The Nexus machines have fallen down the order. I know in the past they've worked with Fiercely Ford and have road course centric focuses, but Nexus is a big oval operation. You'd think there'd be a big step there, but right now their cars are 2/10 off the leader's pace.
Yeah, it's proved to be a difficult race for almost everybody, apart from Alexander Russell at the front of the field right now, to be honest. Everybody else has struggled to stay with the speed, and very soon we're going to have half the field exactly on the lead lap here, with Keeler and Hildgaard about to go 1 lap down themselves as well. Still plenty of drivers who are laps down fighting at the moment. Only Vogelsang out of the race with those huge damage repairs, most likely really taking hold there. But yeah, this has been a complete show of strength from Russell in this race. There's 40 laps to go, less than a third remaining now, and it's flown by really, and it's all gone one way.
Right now, it becomes the question, when do you pull the pin? Remember that those projections are about now if you were thinking about the fuel save or trying to at least undercut. Glendy, by the way, who was a rocket, had a chance to be one of the top drivers for today. His call on the strategy with the newer tires didn't go anywhere. Stayed with Mixer, didn't break away, stopped progressing. Big strategy difference from the first pit stop, has not been able to do much with it. John Stellard, who is not in the conversation lead group, is still ahead of him, mind you, by 3 seconds as the window is open.
Yeah, it is. And once one of these top contenders comes in, might be one of these guys, then you'd imagine Russell will respond. Well, it certainly will when one of those other 3 come in, and Kirkenbauer has now. So expect Russell to respond very, very quickly here. the final round of stops have been properly kicked off here by Kirkenbauer this time by.
Russell can do whatever he wants right now, trying the outside line, trying to search around for clean air. Continue to power his way with an advantage still of now 5 seconds. The gaps are rapidly closing the past couple laps. Mixer peels on down, kept it inside the cone though, avoided touching it, and will keep on going down the lane as you see him trying to be a little bit careful with that speed limit, interesting enough there in terms of how fast he's going here in this one.
So the brief panic there is just a jab to the right, to the left, just to avoid that cone on the right-hand side, which was almost there to collect. John Stellard here, still in pit lane. Is that a long stop? I think that's fine. And it's very close coming out of pit lane between these two, but Stellard just about in front of Mixer. And now watch out on this run through. We just see it here as we stay on board. Very narrow line, and Mixer's on it. Stellard not. Watch out for that bump. Now Mixer gets on it, but look at this. There's going to be a change of position here. Stellard taking that inside line, a little bit more conservative, but at least safe on that line on the very inside.
Reason why he lost so much time was he missed his pit stall coming into the lane. And that's why Stellard lost his 3-second plus buffer. More stops here and coming up. Merritt has indicated on the radio they're coming down. And Merritt just clipped to the cone and crashed on pit road.
Wow, that surely is that as far as Demerit's chances are concerned here tonight. Don't think he was going to get anywhere really near Russell anyway, but this surely is the nail in the coffin. Have a look at this, and this gives an idea, just by the way, on board how difficult pit lane is. Just as you're braking, you're going straight on and straight through the cone, slides through. This is going to be a long time down pit lane for Demerit.
But the way that slide was going, I thought he was about to slam the wall down, Ewan, with how much speed he was carrying. Good attempt to at least slow it up, but that's going to be another 50-second penalty. That's the second i5G driver to get that here today. Russell in live action is coming down. He has Gregory Thompson up ahead of him. Doesn't matter. Russell stays down to the 50 speed limit. Tries to make sure doesn't cross anywhere over. Used to be about, apparently it was 1.5 miles an hour. Used to think it was a rounding difference. Clendy elected to come in with them also. He's currently third on the racetrack. That leaves just about half the field to take service.
Watch out for Kirkenbauer here on this stop for Russell, because I think the 4 has taken a real risk here by leaving this so long and potentially making this a 2-driver fight. Now, he was able to hold on to the lead very easily, so if he comes out in front with any gap, I think he'll be feeling comfortable, Russell. But just watch out here. Where is Kirkenbauer? Oh, it doesn't look like anywhere near it close enough, does it? Wow, that's a big gap.
It's turns 1 and 2 for the 8 machine. That gap, is it just me or it got bigger?
Yeah.
Yes, it did. It's 12 seconds. That kind of shows, I think, in part how good Alexander Russell may be entering in. Because remember, on the oval side, you have to be fairly aggressive to come into the pit lane to make sure you don't lose time. I think Russell handled this the best of anybody in terms of time, because everyone's almost drifting in some of the cases. But he's been just aiming and taking the time on the entry like it'd be a stock car.
I mean, didn't see the entry from Kirkenbauer, so can't comment on, whether it's... But it would have to be way worse than Russell's entry for it to be that bad, wouldn't it? I mean, that feels like fair enough. It might extend a little bit for Russell if he has some good in-laps and, makes use of the lower fuel by going a bit longer, which, of course, is an advantage. But that seems like an extreme amount of time to lose for Kirkenbauer, or gain if you're Russell, depending on which way round you want to look at it. Maybe we'll have a better idea once Brashear comes in, but that does seem an extraordinary gap.
Can confirm in the case of the speeds, by the way, Russell ended up backing up his speeds a little bit more. You see some of the entry marks on how you enter pit road, but right now Brashear is one of the last drivers to peel on down here. It's Alexander. What happened here? He's now down pit road for a lot of time, hearing speeding. And he took a conservative entry too.
Yeah, but he went, oh, look at that. He went low very early though. I mean, it looks like it's safe, but actually you want to be up on the banking a little bit longer there, because it just helps you turn while you're trying to, obviously turning and braking difficult, but you've got to my mind, stay up on that banking just a little bit longer. And while that looks like and feels like the safer thing to do, pulling down so low so quickly just it seemed to me to be a little bit more dangerous. There goes Russell past Caleb Brashear, by the way, who also is going to be quite a few seconds behind, but I think Kirkenbauer's had real... Well, maybe not, actually. Let's see where Brashear comes out in relation to Kirkenbauer. They might still be quite close together.
Yeah, you see the wrapper on the high side. That was a little bit close. Still on the apron. Brashear passing by Hildegard off the pit lane. And Brashear, after missing a little bit of time in the pit stall, still comes on a decent spot. Just the 5 and the 3 are yet to take service. We haven't talked about that 5 machine really today. That is the teammate to Kyle Clenworth, by the way, that's currently your race leader, who's going another couple laps. Reed, one of the independents we've seen pop up at very special events battling this. Here's the battle going on involving Mixer. Shuffled back by the 7th rather, for Mixer by the 6th.
Yeah, not confusing at all. Yeah, battle for 6th place for Stellar, getting past Mixer there, but yeah, have a look at this lead for, well, and in comes Ty Killer. That could be speeding. Whoa! A snap away as well, almost on the way into pit lane there for Keeler, who finally is in, and finally that should cleanse the field, though Reed hasn't been in yet, and now does so as well. Just over 20 laps to go, and we'll see this gap, the final gap really, and Brashear and Kirkenbauer haven't actually lost that much time. They're over 8 seconds behind. That is a reasonable time gain, to be fair, for Russell to make. He gained about 2 seconds in that pit stop phase.
Incredible. And right now, some of the drivers on the radio are saying, can we use lap cars to gain? Brashear said the only time that we've ever gained for the race lead to the other drivers in their pack is when lap cars are involved. And guess what? The air pack has Hildegard in amongst it. For those curious, here's a look at them right now specifically. So we're coming up to 21 laps to go, as they all try and figure out how do they gain 8 seconds. A reminder that coverage of the IndyCar Open Series Euro SOF race is brought to you by Velocity Online Racing. For the iRacing IndyCar community, please consider supporting our fundraiser and donating on GoFundMe. Right now, they're working their way up towards that traffic. The traffic will be Newsom, Quill, Hollyball when they get up there. And that's going to be a huge potential mark here for these two on the lead lap at least. Oh, pit stop in front. Newsom nearly missed pit road again.
Well, that would have been terrible, really, because, as I say, the 9 has already been past pit lane and had trouble there, having to serve a penalty, which has put it a long way down, that 9 car. So definitely don't need another one. But that surely now is the end of the pit stops with less than 20 laps to go. And you mentioned that 8-second gap there. Well, always at this stage in the race when you know there's more pit stops to do, I think a good way to look at it is how much time do you have to gain per lap here to get on terms by the end of the day. For Brashear and Kirkenbauer now, that gap per lap is not far off half a second. That's going to be almost impossible to achieve, I'd say, in a 25-second lap that is so much flat out as it is here at Atlanta.
Some of the drivers like Newsom coming off pit road. Haven't really talked about some of the drivers here with the way the separations built up here today. Like Pim Van Castro's been riding in this run. Some of the drivers here are just looking to have fun and get some of their best when it comes to European time slot. And sometimes strategy just doesn't go your way. Some of these drivers have lost a couple laps with the way pit stop sequences have gone. No cautions though. That's the big shout. This field's kept it green and clean outside of single car incidents here today.
Yeah, indeed. It's been remarkable, really. It's partly remarkable that the 2 single car incidents we've seen, that crash for Vogelsang out of turn 2 and the big spin for Newsom through the quad oval, was not also warranting a caution. Obviously, they didn't actually spin around on the racetrack, so therefore no caution. But also remarkable that everybody else has kept it so clean throughout the day, especially when the racing is so close quarters as it is here. I mean, this is just an example of one of the groups we've seen throughout the 110 laps so far. Close quarters racing all throughout, and it's seemingly going to be like that right to the end.
Plenty you see on screen, by the way, having a chance to move up to 4th. That will put him back up to a plus 13. Just can't get the power around Mixer. Both of them did power the way past the 6. River was battling 4th, 6th with Mixer just a moment or two ago. Glendy's been, again, one of the drivers with speed. But this strategy seems to have worked out better for the second pit stop, much better than the first. You see some of the others, how they go on the other side of the track.
Goodness me, look at this. This is about a third of the field that are still running, all in one camera shot here. Looking back from Clemworth, who's trying to hold off Mixer and Stellard. On the way towards 1 and 2 again. I mean, as we saw with Russell earlier, if you hold the front of the group, you hold your line that you know you're comfortable with, preferably on the low side, which seems to be the easiest line to defend. It seems to be very difficult for the other guys to be able to pass you.
You can just see how difficult the fight's still becoming for this 4th position. Kyle Clenworth, though, in this group, has some of the freshest, in fact, the freshest tires. That's why he's starting to get a power away in through the corners. Also, Jacob Reed and Reminiscent are battlers here. Reminder that cameras are provided by TrackCams22.com. If you're enjoying the action and enjoying the cameras provided throughout this broadcast, be sure to go to them and see the cameras they provide. After all, the onboard cameras, Julien Altena provided those today. Still, though, as we continue on, Will Munstall is battling for 7th. Alan Berteau near contact, a bit of a squeeze for the 5 of the quad oval.
Side by side again, and Berteau able to hold on to 7th place. These are the first drivers who are 1 lap down at the moment. They've been lapped by Russell not that long ago. Round the outside for Killer into 3 and 4. Don't forget, a very late stop for the 5. Maybe those slightly fresher tyres paying off at the moment coming into the final 10 laps.
Possibly, especially with an opportunity at least. If you're thinking about, what is going to be the iRating balance here in this spot? It's just 1 spot. Well, if Ty wants to gain iRating of 5, he needs the spot. If he loses this spot to Berteau, he loses 6 iRating. Just the small things.
Yes, they add up over the course of a few months or so. Losing 5 iRating every time, you'll notice very quickly. But yeah, these are the things. I do often wonder for these drivers whether they actually know that when they're in these scenarios, or whether they just find out that afterwards about how important it was. I mean, regardless whether it was whatever the scenario with that is concerned, they'd be fighting for this place tooth and nail anyway. But just adds a little extra spice.
Definitely does, and you'll still see these two up here battle it out for 2nd with the swap draft. Net still 7.5 seconds back for the race lead with under 10 to go, coming up to 7 laps to go here in this one. Their speed still equal to Alexander Russell. Richard Bauer this time trying to search though high side. Eventually has to go from just swapping to you've got to fight it out to pick up a spot, pick up valuable points here amongst these two.
Yeah, indeed. Very, very valuable points at this very early stage in the season. You don't want to get to it's much better to do it this way round than getting to the end of the season and wishing you'd gotten a few more early on. So you need to bank them early on, and you'll thank yourself for them in a couple of months' time. Here comes Brashear again. That would have been quite a close photo finish had this been the last lap, but there are still 6 more to go, and these two are properly fighting here and probably thinking about where they want to be going on to the final lap or final 2 laps to get ahead of the other.
For sure, 12 laps led with the strategy differences here today for I5G. The votive of Kirchenbauer still yet to find a way to keep himself fully ahead. Now they'll line back up with 5 laps to go. The 8s prefer the high line up through 1 and 2. Then that swooped in the middle of the apex. Tried to set up a build of a run for 3. Inside for the votive machine. The 8 to the inside. Sure drops by into 3rd again, but once again, front straightaway boost with the crossover.
And they're still exchanging places like they were in the 2nd stint, trying to catch Russell. Now, they are slightly doing that, but they've got to park any hopes of a race victory here. They're gone now, but think instead about how they're going to get 2nd place. And think about what that lap car might do in behind there. So I'm not sure who that is, but they're really catching these two at the moment. Might well have a role to play in the final 3 laps of this race.
From here on out, this may end off the race, depending on if we get a caution too. Demerit riding his way still up there. You see him 3 laps down, in fact. not a factor anymore in this fight, but he can surely at least watch and see where the game plan goes with a couple laps to go. Couple laps to go from EchoPark. Matt Hollyball just reported they might run out of gas.
That's not ideal, but already outside the top 10 in that 7 car. Yeah, Demerit being involved in this is quite a remarkable throwback to earlier on in this race when legitimately on the lead lap, Demerit was involved in this. Well, not anymore in terms of the actual second place, but he is hanging around there in the battle as Russell takes the white flag.
Final time around for the power slide machine was one of the drivers that earlier on this year did compete in the iRacing Indy 500. Today, he's shown the speed of power slide, appearing in the Euro SOF and having a rocket. 8+ seconds, Alexander Russell wins in Hampton, Georgia. Second spot still up for grabs. Side by side for P2. Brashear gets it for P2.
That was close. 17 thousandths of a second, so it says there it's going to change, but around 200ths, unbelievably close between those two. In the end, miles short of Russell, who's taken a comfortable victory here tonight in a clean and green race at Atlanta Motor Speedway. But yeah, behind a photo finish that I guess many would have been hoping at the start of the day that might have been for the lead, but as it was for second. Have a look at this run to the line. This is one of the closer photos we're going to see this season.
You see the run coming for the outside, try to find a way to clear, couldn't safely. And Brashear this time got the boost down the straightaway, like we've seen so many times here today, was able to get the edge. The difference, as said, ends up being by about 21 thousandths of a second in the sim.
Yeah, absolutely remarkable. And a remarkable race between those two, but complete destruction of the field by Alexander Russell. What a dominant drive that was.
Yes, indeed. Let's take a look at your race results. Again, these officials, since it is an official race, pending any protests. Alexander Russell was the winner today over Caleb Brashear and Indy Kirchenbauer. Then you have Kyle Cronenworth down in 4th. John Stellard holds on in 5th. Micah Mixer will finish off in 6th, rather, with Ty Kua down in 7th. Alan Berteau in 8th. Christian Hildegard down in 9th. And Jacob Reed, your top 10.
Yeah, outside the top 10 for Rodin Eftink, who finishes 11th in front of Matt Hollibar, who did get to the end in the end. Alexis Newsom ending up in 13th after running up towards the front in those battles for the lead early. Seb Alexander, Pim van Gestel running out the top 15 with the Christopher Demerit down in 16th. That was a disappointing end for him. Gregory Thompson, the last driver to finish, and Milan Vogelsang, the only one to retire from tonight's race.
So I talked about Matt, your running order here today in the IndyCar Open Series, the Euro SOF here today. As drivers are currently making their way from the virtual track to the virtual booth. And so on that note, as we get these drivers populated, waiting for a few of the competitors to make their way through, including your race winner that's just made their way into the conversation. Alexander Russell is in the midst of burnouts again after doing a full Polish victory lap in the sim. But today, the foreign sim was the dominant force for power slide. Alexander, first of all, first talking to you in a while, hello. Second, how'd you dominate this race? Alexander Russell, do you have a copy? I think he's trying to figure out the buttons still. Alex, do you have a copy? Try this one more time. Alexander Russell, do you have a copy? We'll go back to him in a moment. How about we talk to third here? And this is going to be Indy Kirchenbauer, who finished in the top 3. Indy, do you have a copy?
Yep, I got a copy.
First things first, talk to us about your thoughts on how this race broke down, especially with Russell's initial undercut powering his way to 6.5, 7 seconds and not able to chip that gap down.
Yeah, I My set was really good in the pack, and that's why it worked really good in the P1 split last night. But we got a good green to checkered race, which made those when I was in clean air just not as fast. And then I forgot to make the wing adjustments that would have made it fast, so it's just on me. I was trying to swap, but just it wasn't working. It was faster just to let Caleb go out there and lead the race, and yeah, it's just it was definitely a fun one going green to checkered. Yeah, it's definitely really fun to race up there with those people, and super close battle in there.
About 21 thousandths of a second, give or take, was the difference for your spot between second and third on the racetrack there. In your opinion, how do you feel about the communication back and forth? It seemed like Brashear in particular seemed to recognize the importance of the swap draft effect, or at least trying to get that to work initially during the first stint.
Yeah, and I was trying to get it working, and we chipped off a little bit, but once we started getting the lap traffic, it was faster. Just let Caleb lead, and I would follow. It's that dirty air. There was a few times where I went to the inside and I couldn't even clear him. So yeah, it's just yeah, we had a really good set. Certainly a very fun week here in Open at Atlanta. And it's just a generally good race.
Definitely seemed like a fun one, especially going green to checkered here today. We go back to the road course swing next time out, Mid-Ohio, according to the schedules. That is a 41-lapper. How do you feel about going to a IndyCar staple, Mid-Ohio sports car course?
Yeah, home track, so I better be good. Yeah, I'll definitely try to run both broadcasts that week, and I really love Mid-Ohio, so one of my favorite road courses for sure. So yeah, just super happy to be able to get this podium. Have a votive car on the podium for both broadcast slots this week is pretty cool, and definitely great SOF, great turnout for this. So yeah, it's just really happy with the result. It's just Russell just ran a great race. He was best car out there, so I was at least close to getting second, and I'll take that.
Any other show that you'd like to give here before I let you go?
Yeah, I'll thank my go-kart sponsors, BG, Emery and Associates, make something on YouTube, Bayside Comfort Heating and Cooling, and just thank Votive Racing, thank everybody on my team for building this set, especially my teammate Casey, and yeah, just thank you to everybody watching. Thank y'all for putting on this slot, and excited to run some Mid-Ohio next week.
Congratulations on the podium today, Indy.
Thank you.
Indy Kirchenbauer coming away with a top 3 here today. Meanwhile, you contrast that with, as we bring to the proper spot, Alexander Russell, who apparently had a mic cable issue for a moment. Alex, do you now have a copy?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
First of all, lead back to the first question I had. How do you feel, especially after you dominated this race with the pit stop calls?
It feels amazing. After last night where we ran the Monday night SOF, our car was awful. Just genuinely the worst. If it could lead for 10 laps, and if it got to second, it was falling through the field. But wow, the come around from today, just awesome. Calls on the box were great. Pit when I needed to, stops were fast. First stop was scary. I went in there going like, oh, I just missed it, and just flew in the pit lane, and it just stopped right when it needed to. It was unbelievable. But yeah, everyone at Powerslide, we worked on the car all night. Just it needed a whole refresh, and thankfully it was insane today. I'm so happy.
Definitely seems like a rocket ship. You mentioned you're putting together a ton of work in the first place. If you don't mind me asking, what are some of the major things you and your team did to get it to the speed it needed to be for the rest of the week so your team can eat and get some iRating?
I mean, it was just a lot of like trying to see which part of the car needed work. Things that we were experimenting on that might not have worked. We went back, revalidated some testing, and it's just the little things that add up. Just one part of the car works with the other, and you just gotta connect each step. And that's what we didn't do on Monday night. Our car was good in some areas, but it was just bad in others. And we went back, revisited certain parts of that, and found that, hey, this isn't doing what we wanted, and then reset it and found a little bit more out of that car or that part. Made it a lot faster at the end of the day.
So with that being said, how do you feel about the next race on the schedule for next week when we go to Mid-Ohio?
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Why Mid-Ohio? It's controversial. It really is, but it's just not a track that I enjoy. There are road courses that I love, but Mid-Ohio is not one of them. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I can assume if we see you or not there, but anyone want to get a shout out here for today for you and your team?
Again, thanks for you guys broadcasting. Organizing a Euro split was so cool. Once I saw there was one, I had a lot of fun last night, even though our car sucked. So thanks to Powerside for working on the car overnight. We did a lot of work. Thankfully, it paid off. And all the guys showed up. Honestly, amazing group. I love racing against these guys. They're so fun.
Congratulations once again on the win today, Alex.
Thank you.
Alexander Russell gets himself a victory today and puts himself into virtual victory lane. I'd like to thank him, along with Indy Kirchenbauer, for taking the time to speak with us here on Velocity Online Racing. Your thoughts on today, Ewan, because it was an entertaining one. It seemed green the whole way. And a lot of drivers going to be happy about that one. But Mid-Ohio, you heard the challenges coming up.
Well, exactly, yeah. Not everyone's going to particularly enjoy the challenge, I suppose. As I mentioned during the race, there's a different set of drivers, really, who might go well at a road course like Mid-Ohio, or indeed a road course like what we saw at Road America last week, and then what we saw today at Atlanta. Positively surprised in some ways with the race that we saw. I wasn't expecting a clean and green race the whole way through, I must say, but that just allowed Alexander Russell, we just spoke to there, to absolutely dominate. But a new set of drivers, potentially, certainly some new drivers on the grid for next week, I am sure. And looking forward to getting going at Mid-Ohio in 1 week's time as well for the next round.
It's going to be an interesting one when we go off to Mid-Ohio in about a week's time. Once again, that coverage will be on June the 30th. That'll be approximately 4 p.m. Eastern for those tuning in for that coverage. We go to the action for the Euro SOF. But it's just about time to say goodbye for today's coverage here on Velocity Online Racing. I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in. Be sure to press the like and subscribe buttons to help us in the YouTube algorithm if you've enjoyed today's coverage. For my co-announcer, Ewan O'Leary, for our producer, Julien Altena, for the onboard cameras of Julien Altena, and for the track cams provided by TrackCams22.com, I'm Justin Brent saying thank you so much for those who enjoyed today's action. We hope you've been watching and having fun today from EchoPark Speedway for our second race of the season. We'll see you in about a week's time when we go road course racing from the state of Ohio. See you then.